Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books, two books. This week I read a YA, paranormal, fantasy, yes, not quite a murder mystery, almost, anyway. And the second book, historical romance from a new author, so that's fun. Okay, so the first one is, Spellbinder, the Night World book 3 by L.J. Smith. And if you guys have been on this channel for a while, you know I'm revisiting the YAs I loved as a kid to kind of get more into the YA genre, you know, open up my horizons a little bit. Let's see how that goes. So this was a 2-star. And I know, oh, it's, you know, YA and it's 90s YA, so it's like super YA, almost more like closer to middle grade than what YA is now. Like, I get that, but the first two books I freaking loved. So, and I couldn't remember this one from my childhood either, so that's not the best sign. It follows Thea and her cousin, Blaze, but they've always been raised as sisters. Like, they've always been raised together. Both their parents have passed on, and their grandmother raised both of them, so, you know, sisters. And the love interest is Eric, who is a human. Now, Thea and Blaze are witches, and according to the Night World rules, if you fall in love with a human, both you and the human are executed. And the Night World consists of vampires, witches, werewolves, you know, things like that. And shapeshifters. That comes in later. But anyway, so Thea is the classical good witch, and Blaze is the classical evil witch. So the thing is, they kind of just not even address the fact that Blaze basically, I don't even know how to put it. She like mesmerizes men. Almost like they kind of explain the way the book's written, you almost think that she's a succubus, but she's not. You know, she just gets men to do things against their will, and they think it, like, she enthralls them, right? And I was just like, the whole time, I was like, ooh, the consent issues. Oh, I hate this, you know? And Blaze is not shown in a very good light. Now, first of all, I hate love triangles. This is promoted as like a love triangle, like a good witch, a evil witch, and a human boy in between. Who would he choose? So I was thankful that it wasn't really like that. Now, this is 250 pages, so it's very short, and it was a quick read, but I did not have a good time. So it kind of starts off like, boom, you know, Thea, they've been expelled from their old school. They're in a new school, and we met them before in the first book, when Ash kidnaps Poppy. She meets them, you know, so we kind of already know who they are. That's what this book does well in that sense. And I did feel like this book was just more for world dumping and future plot exploration items than actually about Thea and Eric, you know? So that part I was very disappointed by. So basically, they're expelled from their old school because Blaze, bespelled, I guess, this boy to the point where he set fire to the school because she's like, you have to prove your devotion, prove your devotion. So like right off the bat, until literally the last page, I hated Blaze. Even after the last page, I still hated Blaze. Like, she's not a likable character. She's not meant to be, but at the same time, I'm like, she is in high school. Like, no one's trying to be like, hey, bitch, knock it off. Like, she's just doing all these things, and the Night World's supposed to keep secret from the human world, right? Because they don't, especially for the witches, because they don't want the witch trials to happen again. Like, it was interesting from Thea's, because Thea's, and I think it's just Thea's point of view. I don't think we get Eric's very much, if maybe once or twice, which I thought was disappointing, because like I feel like I have no idea who Eric is except through Thea's lens, you know? So that was a bit disappointing. I'm all over the place. I know. I got a lot going on in my brain, and I'm not that smart. So things are just overcrowded. Anyway, I found this book very frustrating. Very frustrating. So they're expelled. They start a new school. There's a rattlesnake. Thea loves animals, so she tries to get the rattlesnake to safety. Eric, who wants to be a vet, also tries to help because he doesn't know. He just thinks this rattlesnake's going to bite this pretty girl, you know? So he steps in to help. He gets bit, but Thea heals him. They have that soulmate connection. That, I mean, when I read the Night World books the first time around, I thought it was cute, but now as an adult, I'm like, insta-love, not so much. I'm not really a big fan of that, but I'm not going to judge these books on that because that's kind of the premise. All these Night World people, especially people attached to the Red Fern family, which comes up later in the series, and Thea and Blaze are descended from them. They are falling, like, the fates are having their soulmates as humans. So that's a whole subplot through all the series, right? So I get that. So I'm not trying to judge it on that. She tries to push him away because she doesn't want him dead and she doesn't want to die herself. Fine. Again, with Blaze doing all these things, like doing these spells to enthrall these boys, is putting a huge, like, target. Like, what is going on? And hunters exist, like witch hunters and vampire hunters. They exist. They're like the boogeymen of the Night World. Like, you better behave or the human hunters are going to come get you, right? So, like, how is Blaze's grandmother not like, hey, my lovable little idiot, I know we don't think people are, people. They're pets at best. But maybe not be so, I don't know, neon sign out in the open about it. Because, like, hey, I don't want to burn at the stake. Like, nothing. Like, and I get it. It's a big thing with YA that, like, the guardians are the guardians of the kids are basically extras in the background. Like, they don't really matter. Or they're, like, the ultimate bad guys or something like that. So, fine. The grandmother is completely checked out of these girls' life. They seem to care about her, though. Even Blaze, and the grandmother seems to care about them. It's just like, hey, yeah, do all the spells you want on humans. Not like anything bad could happen. Like, and we're kind of introduced to these different circles for witches. There's the Circle of Midnight and the Circle of Twilight. I think you could get by their really on-the-nose names what kind of magic they do in the Twilight Circle and the Midnight Circle. And there's a couple of Night World people at the school, and Thea makes friends with this other witch named Danny, who just the whole time is like, I guess she's meant to point out the hypocrisy of both the human world and the Night world, because, like, there was no other reason for her to exist. She's like, do you know humans are, like, super racist? And because you and I don't have the same skin tone, they would hate you for it. And then the same breath, like, call them nothing but pets. And, like, oh, who cares if that person dies? It's just a human. They don't matter. So, like, it was I'm like, girl, the irony is ironing. The hypocrisy is hypocrisizing. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. Anyway, so I'm like, there was no other reason for Danny to be in this book at all, right? So the whole thing is Blaze, men always just love Blaze, right? So when she tries to hook Eric in, he's like, yeah, no thanks, I like your cousin. And, obviously her pride is wounded, right? And then Thea, which drives me nuts because Thea trusts Blaze in a way that I'm like, girl, don't do it. But she does, so she tells Blaze that Eric is her soulmate. And through Thea's point of view, we are told that Blaze is scared for Thea. We're not shown Blaze is scared for Thea. But Thea's like, oh, I know she's scared for me because we grew up together. Bitch, then show it. Okay, LJ Smith, you are better than this. Your 2 books were delightful. This is upsetting. You could do better. Like, what the hell was this book? And, like, what? So Blaze is like, oh, don't worry. I'll seduce him using dark magic. That way, he'll forget all about you and no one has to die. And I'm like, I don't think so. You're doing that because he didn't want you. Your pride is hurt. So now you're going to use his blood to do dark magic to make him like you against his will. And the fact that he's soulmates to your cousin, sister, best friend doesn't even register to you, you selfish fucking... Oh my god. I had to remind myself, this is fiction, but I got so bad. Anyway, Thea's like, oh my gosh, no, because Blaze destroys men. You know, her boyfriend that set fire to the school, they had like a dance or whatever. I'm like, it's been a week at school, you guys have a dance, but alright, whatever. And like he came with a razor blade and he cut up some boys that Blaze was there with. Like, it's bizarre. And she's like, I don't want Eric to turn into that. And Thea's supposed to be the one we like, right? But the whole time, Thea just lets Blaze do whatever. She doesn't stand up to her. She's like, hey, humans don't deserve to be treated like this. And she's the one that loves animals and all that stuff. And we're supposed to like her. But like the whole time I was like, you never once told Blaze, knock it off. Like, never once stood up to her, never tried to explain why you feel uncomfortable by it. Like, never once. So, like, you, Thea, are nothing. like you have no personality except being, I'm a good person, but you're not, though, because you don't do anything to show us you're a good person. Just internally, you're like, I really hate that she does this. But you don't do anything about it. So I'm like, put your money where your mouth is. Like, come on, do something. No? Then shut the fuck up. Like, I just got so mad, as you can tell. So in this weird, bizarre turn of events that doesn't seem like Thea at all, because Thea's like, at least what we've seen, she lets Blaze walks all over her. She doesn't do anything about it, but she does this really dark spell to bring back a spirit of a really angry witch to protect Eric, but it goes wrong, and like an innocent boy is killed, right? I was like, what is happening right now? And the description of the boy's corpse is pretty, I didn't expect to go, like, I didn't expect the author to go that in detail. Like, that was kind of grotesque. I was like, whoa, okay. Alright, 90s YA is weird. Full on description of a strangled, bloated corpse. But, like, only they could hold hands and kiss. Like, I was like, this is weird. But anyway... So like she confides to Danny and they're trying to figure out who this is to stop it, and they figure out the identity of the witch, which like with no clues whatsoever. I was like, what? They're just like, yeah, it must be this witch, because like only this witch had long black hair. Your cousin has long black hair. Like, what are you talking about? And this witch was from like 1600s. Everybody had long hair. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, what? And they're trying, and then like Eric, the whole time, you think he doesn't know, but he knows, you know? And he's like, look, I know you're unique, but I love you, like, whatever. I'm like, fine. His personality was nice guy. Who wants to be a vet? And really likes Thea. That was pretty much it. Okay. I feel like I got a sense more of his little sister than him. Who I really like, but whatever. She's only like 2 parts of the book. I'm like, there's one character I like in the story, and it's the 10-year-old sister who was in like maybe 6 paragraphs the whole time. Great. So the inner circle, which is like the elders, find out. She runs to where Eric is because they're planning to lure the evil witch spirit. She gets there, they fight it, the elders see this, they didn't do anything to help, but they see this, and basically they're like, you could see that there's dissension within the night world because they don't really want to follow the night world rules when it comes to Thea and Eric, because the grandma's like, there was a time where witches and humans were wonderful friends, you know what I mean? And I don't want to adhere to some bloodsucker's point of view. So you could see that, like, not everyone's happy with the status quo, even the elders. And like there is dissension within the species, you know, that they're, you know, because in the second book, we get it that werewolves don't like vampires either. So vampires seem to be like on everyone's hit list. They're like, okay, we'll give you this potion that knocks your complete memory out, and then you'll just be a lost witch or like a human that is psychic. That's what that is. and that's it. But Blaze gets a potion. She switches it out. Spoiler alert from a book from the 90s. She switches it out so it doesn't actually take their memory away, but they pretend it does. And one of the witches who's like in the Elder Circle, who's psychic, she knows that this is a farce, right? So she's like, hey, great job pretending. I'm with you guys. There's the circle called Circle Daybreak, which is important later on. They're the ones that don't like what's happening. And I heard a couple of your cousins have human soulmates, so you might want to get in touch with them. You know, basically the only adults in the whole book, the only character in the whole book that actually knows what the hell they're doing. And it was like the last 2 pages. So I guess we're supposed to like Blaze that she didn't memory roofie her cousin. But like the whole time, I hated her. Like the consent issues were just like, I was like, I hate this so much. So the only reason I gave it a 2 was because even though I didn't like it, I thought the writing style was good. This definitely is setting up for later on in the series. And that's kind of the only reason that it's not like a 1 star. And even saying it out loud, I might turn it to a 1 star. I'm probably going to turn it to a 1 star. Consider it a 1 star. Whew, okay, the second book is Notorious. Now this is odd because like the subtitle in Kindle is Agents of Ruin Book 1, but the subtitle in Goodreads is Corrupting the Innocent Book 1 by Katherine Harlow. So this is an indie writer. This is about 219 pages, historical romance. Now, I gave it 4 stars. It's Penelope. I couldn't remember her name at all. Even when I was reading the book. I was like, what the fuck is this girl's name? Not a good sign. It's Penelope and Hugh. Those are the 2 episodes, the 2 main characters. We're in Penelope's point of view for like 90% of the book. We only get Hugh's point of view here and now. Now, I wish this book was longer because I felt like them falling in love was really, really quick. And then the 3rd act went on way too long and there's way too much stuff in it to cause problems for the heroine and the hero. So I think because it was 200 pages, it felt off to me, right? So it felt like 100 pages of like us getting to know them and them falling in love, and then 100 pages of 3rd act problems. And I was like, this feels off. You know what I mean? Like, I think if it was a 300-page book and 100 pages for the 3rd act conflict, the pacing would have been good for me. Like, it would have been perfect. This probably would have been a 5 star, right? So that's the only thing for me, is that the pacing is off. That's it. The rest of it, I had a blast. So Penelope, although I find her, I couldn't remember her name for the life of me, I liked who she was. She's very smart. She hates this society's norms that it is, because this is a historical romance. So it's like around maybe late 1800s, because the railroad is coming in England. So she's very much on the marriage market and she hates it. She feels like a prize. She feels like a cattle. And I loved her point of view, right? Hugh is a horrible rank, right? But he's so gorgeous. And when she first sees him, he's introducing his fiance. So I was like, what is happening? Is she going to be a homewrecker? What is going on? He's got a fiance. What is going on? I'm not sure if I like it. I'm going to keep reading. What is happening? This just came out like last year, so I don't want to give too much away, right? But I really had a great time with it. There's a lot going on with Hugh's fiance in the beginning of it. I knew they were going to kind of make her maybe not a villain, but something was going to happen because obviously the hero and the heroine have a happily ever after. And by the way, that's what makes a romance, okay? A happily ever after. Not having happily ever after is not a romance, okay? Okay. Is that done? That's done. I know there are some discussions on it. My say is final. That's what it is. So the thing about this, like, she has 2 cousins, Harriet and Anne. Harriet, her and Penelope aren't that close. They're kind of rivals a little bit, and she fully admits it, right? But Anne and Penelope's friendship, I loved it. It was such a good, wholesome friendship, right? They're cousins and they're friends, and Penelope going into it is determined to get Anne happily ever after. Because Anne is sweet, but she's often overshadowed by Harriet. Her family doesn't really pay attention to Anne, and Penelope loves Anne so much she thinks Anne deserves the world, so she wants to find Anne's perfect match. You know what I mean? Which I thought was really sweet. And then she's like, then I could, you know, think about me later, you know, or next season, whatever. Which I was so refreshed by, you know? And then she talks about the pressure she has to marry well for her family. And meanwhile, she's sort of falling first in lust and then quickly in love with Hugh. And Hugh is dazzled by her. Another thing I liked about this, which is a historical romance thing, once he meets the main character, like no one else can do. Like he's just like, he can't sleep with anybody else. You know what I mean? Which I really like, because if that doesn't happen, it doesn't feel like their connection's real, you know? And the issue is he's got a fiance, you know, that he feels like he has a duty to. So I don't want to say too much of that, right? I will say, the yearning, and you guys know I love a good yearning. The yearning, so good. And like, Hugh's, when at one point in the book, he's like, okay, I'm going to seduce Penelope at this garden party. It is the height, like only the best of the best can get invitations. I'm gonna get Anne and Penelope invited, and my cousin, who is a reverend, he'd be perfect for Anne. So that's the only reason Penelope goes. And the thing is, I really liked about, she's naive, but she knows what Hugh is up to. She's like, oh, he's trying to seduce me, but bitch, you Uno reverse. I'm gonna find Anne her perfect match, and I'm gonna find myself a perfect match, and you could do whatever. And I was like, okay, I like that. I like that she knows what he's scheming, and I like that she's gonna be like, ha, gotcha, you know? I liked that. And of course, there's a garden party in a historical romance. You can't knock a classic, right? So I felt like the falling in love was very fast, because then it was just 100 pages of third act conflict. And the whole time I couldn't put down, because I was like, oh, but then this is going to happen. But no, you have to listen. All these miscommunications. It was a lot of miscommunications. Like other people putting their nose in when they didn't have all the facts, and like just breaking both Hugh and Penelope's heart, right? And before she falls in love with Hugh, she's interested in Lord Ashbourne. And in Hugh's point of view, we already know Lord Ashbourne is not the nice guy he pretends to be from the get-go, right? So I was like, okay, that's a little disappointing. You know, I wish that he's the bad guy kind of reveal kind of happens later. So she's focusing on Ashbourne because she's already attracted to Hugh, but he's got a fiance and she ain't about that, right? So then Ashbourne leaves. And by the way, she's an artist, and I kind of like that there was a little bit more to her, you know, that sense. That she had a creative outlet like that. I like that. Ashbourne leaves, leaving her like vulnerable to Hugh's seduction, right? And then later, when the whole miscommunication bullshit happens, Ashbourne comes in there to swoop her up, and like she's literally her wedding day. Her wedding day, right? And the one thing I would have loved to see on the page is like when it comes to the head, the Penelope's like, oh my God, I can't do this. I have to go. And the mother's like, you go, child. I will take care of Lord Ashbourne. And she like storms into the church like a general. And I was like, wait, no. I want to see the confrontation on the page. No. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean the POV switches and we're with you? No. I want to see the mom completely eviscerate that piece of shit. What is happening? So I really, really, really would have liked to see that piece of shit get his ass handed to him by the mom, who has been consistently overbearing throughout the whole story. I really would have liked that. But this was a 4 stars. I like this author. I'm gonna try out their second book, and the second book is the fiance of Hugh in the beginning of this book, because I really feel bad for her. You know, a lot of stuff happened that is not fair, not right, not her fault. And I do like that Thea wasn't the cause of her problems too, because that would have been really hard to like, not Theo. Ooh, that was the other book. Penelope wasn't the cause of her problems, because that would have been really hard for me to like a heroine that like shitted on another woman for no reason. You know, it's one thing if like there's conflict already, but out of nowhere, like, that's not very likable. You know what I mean? So that's it. That was my week. I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.